Hello and welcome. I am so excited to talk to my guests today. I have Genevieve and Mark Marino with me today. They are writers and they actually sent me this really cool book that my daughter and I have been enjoying so much, Mrs. Wobbles and the Tangerine House, Unboxing by the Marino family. They are a family formed through foster to adopt, and I just can't wait to hear your story. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. And I should
Great.
mention one of our co-authors is not here. Probably, well, the one who brings us into this whole world, and that's my son Davion, Jenna's brother. And let's see, how old is he now? He's 21. So he came to live with us when he was 2.5, and we were able to adopt him when he was 4.5. And then around the time when, let's see, I think Jenna was 10 and Davion was 8, we started this journey of the Mrs. Wobble stories.
I have so many questions. So many questions. Firstly, so Genevieve is a biological daughter of yours, and then your son is adopted through foster care.
Yeah.
How did do you have a partner or are you a single father? And how did you start? How did you decide to do foster to adopt?
Yeah. So I have a wife. Her name is Barbara. She's certainly the better half, the better 3/4. And she is an emotional supporter of the Mrs. Wobble series and encourages us and also tolerates us. But so adoption was something that was always something we wanted to do. And so after we had Jenna, let's see, she was about, let me think, I guess she was about 3 when we started the process of taking the classes. I had a good friend. I don't know if you find this to be true, but it seems like there's often a person in your life who adopts that sometimes sort of like reminds you of what you were going to do all along. So I have a very good friend from college who is also a writer, and he had adopted 2 children and through foster adopt. And something about that, I think, talking to him about his experience reignited things for my wife and I. And so we took the classes, and it's one of those classic moments where you're open to whoever's gonna show up, right? And it was one of those things where like we had taken the classes, our certification wasn't quite signed yet. Anyway, sorry, I will tell this moment if it's okay. And so I had given my wife for our anniversary, which happens in August, that I would paint the living room. So it was October, and I was finally painting the living room. And I was about halfway through of it, and the phone rings, and I get the call, and there was somebody who needed an immediate placement who had already been in the system, and then right away, I hung up and I called my wife. I said, "This is it." They told us a little of the circumstance, and well, you know how it goes. And then we went out, and we got to meet him. And then a couple
Yeah.
days.
Question.
Go ahead.
Let me stop you right there because I do have a couple questions just about that. Were you the designated? So you were the designated call receiver, or was it like this? When I did this, there was only one of us in the couple that was like the designated call receiver, and that person had to make the decision on the spot about whether it was a yes or a no. And that was me, and that felt like a tremendous amount of pressure. I'm just wondering, was it like that for you and your wife, or were you able to talk to each other and then get back to them?
I think I was the one who just happened to be at home to receive the call. I'm trying to think
Okay.
whatever year it was. I mean, I think we already had smartphones and cell phones and things like this, but this came in on the home phone, which is why I was answering
Oh,
it.
wow.
And no, I think Genevieve can attest to this. No, I would never be the sole person made to make a decision this weighty for our family. Certainly,
Right. Yeah.
everything is collaborative, but I kind of trust my wife's sort of more logical mind, more solid judgment than perhaps my own. So yeah, so that's why. So my answer to them was probably. I still think I said that sounds great. We'll come out and
Right. You were
meet
ready.
him.
You were like,
Right,
let's
right,
do it.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the call to my wife though was certainly based on every conversation we had prior to this about who we thought would be the best fit for our family. Everything sounded exactly like this was
Wow.
it was one of
Okay.
those times that hits you like a train that this was the right person at the right time and we were the right family for that's what we thought. Of course, you don't know anything until everybody meets each other and sees how
Right.
everybody gets along.
Sure.
But
Yep. And so how old was he when he was coming to you?
he was 2.5.
Okay.
And
So the
he
kids are pretty close in age.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they and right away Jenna started preparing the room. I feel like you were preparing the room even before we went to meet him. Is that true, Jenna? Do you remember that at all? Oh, that yeah.
No idea.
Okay. All right. Well, there are a few things. All right. So some things I have to admit. One of them was, even though we had taken all the classes and we were, all but signature certified. In fact, as soon as we got the call, they said, okay, we called the group that was helping us with it wasn't a private organization. They were a nonprofit we were working with called Westside Children's Center. And they said, well, of course we'll sign your paperwork now. It was just something that had been waiting for no apparent reason, like many things related to the system.
Yes.
So they went ahead and signed it. But I had said, my wife, who's very practical, of course, we had said, let's set up the room. Let's get everything in place. We had inherited some bunk beds from some people. And I said, let's not worry about that till the time arrives. We've got plenty of time. So as soon as we get this call, we, immediately go into high gear and we're putting together bunk beds and getting the room all ready. And then, I'm surprised you don't remember, Jenna, but we have pictures of you in the room getting things ready and move, because at the time when he arrived, you were young enough that you could share rooms. And so you were moving your stuff into part of the dresser and so that he would have drawers.
So cute. Yeah. Do you remember that time at all, Jenna?
I think I remember it mostly through the stories that we continue to tell, both literally and figuratively, of that time. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Right. Well, because you were so young. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you remember going to meet him for the first time? Do you remember anything from that pic?
Only from stories.
Well, I'll share a couple of them. So one was once we all met. So we met him twice. Well, the second time we met him, we were picking him up. So we met him, and I don't know. I do kind of like that story. All right, I'll have to tell you that story first, which was
tell me all the stories. I'm here for the stories.
So we drove out to Corona, which in Los Angeles is I want to say 45 minutes east of here, but with traffic it could be 3 hours.
Oh yeah,
it's like
I lived in LA for 20 years until 3 years ago when I moved back to where I'm from. Yeah, so I know all about LA.
Yeah, yep. you know it well then. Yeah. So and we go into this place. This is when we first met him, and it was at you get another one of these nonprofit adoption organizations, and we sit down on this bench sort of off to the side. For some reason the room had a sort of a strange entrance where it kind of came to a point right at the doors when you walked in. And so we were over on the left-hand side on these benches sitting down, and this little boy walks, Latino boy walks through the doors by himself. we knew from the description that wasn't going to be him because we knew it was an African American boy. So anyway, so he just walks into whatever room he was walking into. I don't know. That was a little strange. I mean, I never stopped to think about that part of the story. But anyway, so the second person who walks in was our son, and he looks over at us, and again, I haven't really thought about the logistics of the story, but he does walk in by himself. And then we're
like,
seeing,
where's he coming from? I feel like these children are just walking in, they're arriving.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I can only imagine that the woman who was sort of like the emergency foster care placement, who had him for just a couple of days, she had sent him in, I guess, to go meet those people, I guess, as it was the thing. And he walks over and he sees us sitting over on the bench, and he hops on the bench and he just sits right down next to us. And it was just one of those like heart melting moments, obviously. And and then we had our first meeting. Our second meeting, we go and we we're picking him up with all of his stuff, and Jenna's there with us. And I do remember a time where we sat down on another couch together, and I'm reading them a story, and my son starts flipping the pages very quickly, and my daughter starts holding down the pages so that they're not turned so quickly, as their two personalities were emerging. And then on the we did the thing on the way home. We stopped at I think it was a Burger King Playland, and they started playing together. And then the last part of the story that I can't help but tell was, at the time I was driving like a RAV4 or something like that with sort of high backs, and it was dark already because this was October. And I hear this voice from the back of the car, and it says, "Papa." And I said, "Yeah." Okay. So then we drive a little further. "Papa?" And I said, "Yes." What do you need something? "Nothing." A little longer. "Papa?" I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then finally I realized that it's dark in the car, and he couldn't see me, and he just wanted to know that I was still there.
Oh.
So anyway, so that's a little bit of the origin story.
Yeah, I love that. So, point of clarification, so he had been in the system for a while. Were his parental rights already terminated? So he was like available for adoption already, or no?
Not yet. That was highly likely, and it eventually did happen. But he had been in the system since he was very young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then had been in one placement, and then that didn't work out. And so then was placed in this emergency placement, and then was placed with us.
Got it. And did he have a lot of special needs coming to you? I'm assuming that he had some stuff if he was in the system this long. I've come to find out from doing this podcast that pretty much every child from foster care will have some type of special needs. They all do in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Although also, I think you're familiar with this as well. There were a lot of special needs that turned out not to be true.
Okay, yes,
for example,
100%.
When he was placed with us, they told us he was like lactose intolerant, for example, which he wasn't. And there were numerous other things that were, of the medical variety that were just inaccurate, and I don't know. Yeah. So it took it was quite a while before we really realized who he was and what was true and what wasn't true. And, yeah, a very incomplete record, I guess I would say, just inaccurate. So so for sure,
right. And also, there's a lot of behaviors that happen if the child is in trauma or not feeling comfortable or safe in their environment or not understood or whatever it is. So there can be things that might be in the record of like, oh, this child has like, temper tantrums. This child has meltdowns. This child bites and kicks and screams. Well, they're dysregulated, and they need like just a lot of love and attention and safety and stability and that kind of thing. So yeah, I get that. Also.
Yeah, there was a transition for sure that involved a lot of that. although really more for my wife than for me, because I got instantly slotted into position of Papa
Fun. The
that had
fun
been,
dad.
yeah, that had been previously occupied by um, another, the foster dad, who I think hadn't been around very often because of his work. And I mean, so much so, another famous family story is we had a photograph of his foster mom, and in the upper left hand corner there was a smaller photograph of his foster dad. Like looked like a nice a tall African American guy with a mustache, like a handsome guy. And at some point, my wife asked him, "Oh, like who's in this picture?" And he's like, "Oh, that's Mama, whomever." We kind of use different Mama, and then followed by a name to sort of distinguish between different people.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she said, "Oh, yeah." And then who's this guy? And he said, "Papa." And she said, "Oh, yeah, Papa. Papa who?" And then he looked at her like, "No, that's Papa. Like that's
Okay.
that's the same person that I am. Like there's been no break. There's no difference. There's one person called Papa, and this is the same person."
Okay.
I mean, again,
Yeah.
obviously, I think if they put us side by side, he'd be able to tell us the difference. Obviously,
Right.
but like I said, it was a little bit because of that. It was an easier acclimation for me, and then my
Right.
wife,
Like he didn't have a strong, what I'm getting is he didn't have a strong male
correct
role model. So it was like, just, this is the Papa guy.
right,
And so that
right.
was, as
So
opposed to trying to,
yeah. So I got slotted in where she had to, I don't know about earn her place of trust, but she had to earn that role of Mama.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So.
Uh-huh. And so you said there were some issues at the beginning. Can you speak to those and how you were able to navigate them? And of course, you have Genevieve as well, so I'm sure that was a concern. I know a lot of foster parents say they're concerned about the what's happening with my foster child is like impacting and affecting my other children. I'm just wondering if there was any of that there, and how you handled it, because I've also heard about that, and I always like to ask that question.
Yeah. Jenna, do you have anything that about getting an instant sibling?
Well, I remember that we always talked about how I had like immediately a very deep sense of empathy for him. I immediately identified with him. And I remember we always talk about me being a translator for him because I was closer in age, and also because I had a deep empathy and understanding for him. And so sometimes when he would be speaking, he had some issues with speech. And so sometimes my parents wouldn't be able to tell what he was saying, and I would be able to tell and translate what he was saying. And I remember that being a very connecting place for us.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was enormously helpful to have you as a translator. And then also I think but I think there might have been some slight challenges to getting so when you have a biological sibling that's born, you have a little bit of lead time before they can walk around and touch your stuff.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And disrupt your previously uninterrupted existence. And so I think Genevieve did a good job, but I think that was also a bit of an adjustment, right? That suddenly there was somebody walking around and,
Yes.
uh,
Pushing down the tower that you just made and doing, yeah, I had all of that too with our kids.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then, so some other challenges were, we had to go to work,
Hmm.
that was October. So, and I don't think we right away got a leave. I think my wife got a leave right away. I don't think I got a leave at all, because now our work has some paternity leave period. And also,
Hmm.
and even in cases of adoption.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so that meant that I was suddenly doing what the previous foster care father had done. Like I was not, I mean,
Aha.
not
You were
quite to the
repeating that.
not quite to the same extent, but I'm like, a child who has
Yep.
maybe some abandonment issues or whatever. Like suddenly I'm disappearing. So fortunately,
Yep.
we had, and this also was a nice transition when my wife had to go back to work. We had a spot in a children's center that's tied to she works at Loyola Marymount University. She was able to get
Hmm.
a space for him there, and we were able to work with some amazing people who were so talented and kind and loving and helpful
Hmm.
with that
Hmm.
transition. So I think that
Yeah.
made a big difference. But yeah, there was like I said, um, my wife earned a spot in my son's heart, but not without a fight. Like there
Hmm.
was definitely some resistance early on. Again, because she's filling a role that's already been filled to some extent.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was different. So I think that
Hmm.
there was resistance. There was
Yeah.
some and some of that was physical.
Sure. Yeah. Did you were you doing visits with the birth family?
Yeah, we were doing
Okay.
visits with the birth mom.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Um, and we are and we've reconnected with her because there was a little gap where we had
Hmm.
there were regular visits and then termination of parental rights, and then we kind of lost touch for a while, and then we reconnected, and then we lost touch for a while, and
Yep.
now not only are we reconnected, but they're reconnected, and we're also
Wow.
reconnected with members of her birth family. Like
Wow.
her dad came to my son enlisted, and her dad lives in the LA area and came to my son's going away party to when he enlisted. And then her brother has been out to our house and visited. He just sort of
Wow.
he
That's
coincidentally
great.
grew up in Pittsburgh where I grew up, and so anyway,
Mm.
he's come over and we bonded over Pittsburgh things, and so
How did was that initiated by your son at a certain point when he was uh, older? He said, I want to know my birth family." Is that how it came, how that happened, or how did you reconnect?
you know uh when she would reconnect, we would sort of always give him, especially because he was that tended to be like when he was older, right? um
Hmm.
we would ask him, like, do you want to, like, hey, do you
Yeah.
something you want? And for a while it wasn't, for whatever reason. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff he was working through, and then at some point he was open to it. And then when he
Uh-huh.
was, we facilitated. And I can
Yeah.
remember it wasn't that long ago, to be honest.
It
um
wasn't until after he turned 18 that he was
Okay.
interested.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he went with my wife um, to go visit her because she's not living in Los Angeles anymore, and or
Hmm.
not in the area anymore. And they
Okay.
reconnected. They reconnected then, and then since then she's been out, and we've had her over to our house for a meal where they were reconnecting. This is before he went off into the military,
Hmm.
and then also I'm thinking of her now because I think her birthday is Saturday. Now that I think about it,
Mm.
so we'll be talking to her soon. But she also,
Hmm.
when my son enlisted, she went to his graduation from not basic training but advanced training. Yeah, her birthday's tomorrow.
Mm. Okay.
anyway, so
Happy
I'm
birthday.
sure we'll be
Yeah.
in touch with her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So that's been nice too, like, but again, it's different, it's different for everybody, different at different times. But I think the fact that they reconnected after he was 18 also meant that we were all in a very different place emotionally and otherwise with that reconnection. There was kind of like, okay, well, now he's grown up and he's figuring things out for himself, and this is part of his journey and his, healing process. And of course we wouldn't have been obstacles to it at any point in time that he wanted to reconnect, but somehow the reconnection happening when he could make the decision, was an adult and was making the decision for himself in a way, I think made a lot of sense for everybody,
Sure.
had everybody in a good spot with how, I don't know, how that relationship would develop. Again, like I said, we would have been happy with the reconnection at any point, but
Right.
somehow that made a certain kind of sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Genevieve, did you remain close with your brother the whole time? It sounds like you were really close when you were little. Did you remain close?
Yeah, I think we remained close for a very long time. I think the teenage years were tough for both of us. So high school was definitely a point where we kind of strayed away from each other, but in common COVID fashion, we were able to reconnect a little bit during COVID because we were staying home with each other. And so that was a way that we were able to kind of reconnect a little bit. But there was, a lot of tension that came with growing up and becoming adults.
As it would with any
Sure.
siblings, perhaps.
I was just going to say, yeah, that sounds normal. Siblings fight. And then you throw the hormones in there and the growing up and all that. Yeah, I get that. And I do think that COVID did that. That was like a fringe benefit of COVID for so many families, including my own, because my husband had been driving from the valley where we were living to God, where was it? It was someplace really crazy far away. It was like a 2.5 hour commute. It was nuts out by the ocean. But I'm trying to think of why. I don't know why I can't think of where it was like right at this moment. But anyway, it was a crazy commute. He was not around a lot. So when she was really little, he wasn't even around. And I was like kind of doing everything myself, which was difficult. But then COVID hit. And suddenly we were all together and it was amazing. It was like amazing for their bonding. It was amazing for our bonding as a family. So, it was horrible in a lot of ways, but there were those benefits. Sounds like you experienced too.
Well, and just to jump in there, would it be all right if I shared screen for a second?
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, I've never done that on the show before. This will be a first. So I have no idea what's going to happen, but let's see what happens.
Let's see if this works. So, apropos of, let's see what it's doing. Now it's asking for this permission.
It's probably not letting you do it.
Hold on. Let's see if I turn this on here, and then if I use this password here, and do this, and then say allow. Oh, okay. Well, I'll send it to you for later. How about that? But
what is it?
So during COVID, we started making a daily webcomic. This is sort of apropos of what the family does, that documented our time together as a family.
Oh, cool!
And so I'll at least drop a link to that in the chat so you have it.
That would be great. And then I'll include that if it's available for public consumption. I can
certainly, for good or for bad, it is available for public consumption.
I would love to see that. And that brings me to what I really also want to get to, which is your creative endeavors that you've all taken on together. And I want to hear about that. It sounds like you are a writer. You were a writer. Do you work currently as a writer? Like, give me a little bit of writing history and then how this blossomed into a family thing.
Yeah. So, yes, I have been writing for a while, and I teach writing at USC. Um,
Hmm.
and I've always been interested in sort of digital, like what the next kind of writing is going to be, electronic or whatever. And having kids, as you start reading them lots of different books, and some are
Hmm.
good and some are bad and some are really bad. And the ones,
Yeah.
but the ones that are good, like you have such affection for it because it's this vehicle for connection
Yes.
with your children in such a deep way, right?
Hmm.
And so sometime around when the kids were, like I said, it's around the time when they were 8 and 10. um, I started working on the first of the Mrs. Wobbles stories, and just reading little bits to both Genevieve and to Davion on and off about this magical foster care home. And I think there wasn't necessarily a lot of like, why this story, why now, this
Hmm.
this figure of this loving foster care mom sort of appeared, and then kids who were showing up at her house for the first time. Again, I think in hindsight, it's very clear what was happening, right? Is that this was a way to sort of to process everything that we were going through, and
Hmm.
through the way that we like to process things, which is through imagination and storytelling and creativity. And so right away, I don't know, very early in the process, the kids became collaborators. And I remember
Hmm.
just I would keep asking them like, okay, well, what should happen? What should happen next? What kind of magic happen? This is a spooky magical home, but I don't want it to be too spooky. How do we keep it from being too spooky, or what's spooky enough, right? And so we started working on these stories, uh, and I don't know. It's just been it's been a fun way for us to process our family's experiences. It's been a helpful way for me to try to reflect on my son's experience in a way that's creative, that doesn't sort of exploit his story, doesn't render him vulnerable, because it's not his story, it's a fictional story about
Right.
these characters, right?
Yeah.
Even though there are
Hmm.
things obviously that touch upon his story, my feelings about his story, Genevieve's relationship to that story, and
Yes.
everybody gets sort of folded into the story in one way or another, but it's all within the safety of imagination and storytelling and play. And because our stories are sort of choose your own path, there's also I don't
Yes.
know, we like the idea that of giving the reader some choice, but also I don't know, like as I've come to think about it, one thing foster kids don't have is a lot of choice over their lives, a lot of agency. And so
Mm-hmm.
the idea of like creating a story where they do have choice, they can explore what happens. I don't know. Somehow that feels like it fits the setting.
Love it. Love it. And in fact, when I realized it was like a choose your own adventure thing, I was like, this is great. My favorite books when I was younger, when I was like a little kid, I used to love those choose your own adventure books. Did you have those ever?
Of
I
course.
loved
I,
them.
I mean,
I would sit
I'm
there.
I'm pretty sure I still have them.
Yeah, I would just be obsessed with them, and I would be going like to my siblings were much older than me, so my mother would always be dragging me to like this sporting event or that sporting event. And I didn't care about sports at all. I was like I loved books and reading and theater and all that. I was a theater geek, even at heart, even as a little kid. And so, man, I'd just sit there in the stands and like choosing my own adventure, going through them all, then going through it again and deciding. And so, yeah, my daughter and I. So, wait, did the first book turn into this book? Is this the first book?
So no. So
Okay,
there are about 6 or 7 stories that live online only.
got it.
Those are the first
Okay,
one. The very first one was called
okay.
Mysterious Floor. It predates those TV shows, but not spoilery, but it might be about a floor that turns into lava. Um,
Yeah.
and So and then there's a whole series, including one that Jenna was the main driver on, called the Land Down Under, and those are all online. And then I think we realized at some point that much though I love the electronic, we I don't know, not we need to have something physical. And actually I was interviewing my son for some other video project about the stories, and he said,
Mm-hmm.
I really think it would be great if these stories were, print, like a physical thing that could live on my shelves. And so from the moment he said that, then I thought, okay, well, we need to make that happen as soon as possible. So then that puts the one that you have in your hands, unboxing. I don't know. Sometimes I think of it as like book 8 or so, but
gotcha.
That's the only one that has a print manifestation at this point.
Got it. And you guys, did you self-publish this, or I was just trying to look and see if is it published under you self-published?
It's self-published, so it's available. It's currently through Amazon, and then I think we're going to move it to Ingram Spark next, so that it can be available in bookstores and libraries and things like that. Yeah.
Great. And I will certainly link to that in the notes. Yeah, we just had so much fun. My daughter and I love to read together. And so she just turned 10, but now she can read. So we actually will take turns reading and, that kind of thing. And we were just laughing so much. She's also got like a wonderful sense of humor, and always has ever since she was like a little kid. And it's so sort of quirky and funny in a way, and like just kind of odd in the greatest way that like both of me and her really enjoy. She's neurodivergent. I was like, wait, is somebody writing this neurodivergent? Because it's so awesome. Like, it's just so cool and like out of the box kind of situation. Any neurodivergence there?
I don't know. I'll have to let Jenna just graduated with a psychology degree. I don't know. Jenna, do we have any neurodivergence going on in our author crew?
We're neurospicy.
Neurospicy. Okay. I love it. Yeah.
Nice. What's been nice about the stories too, though, is so there are 2 stories that the kids were like the main drivers on. So there was one. So Davion wrote one called Action Figures, about these action figures that come to life, and we've read that for a while there. We would read it every year at his children's center to the kids. But Jenna, there was Land Down Under is really yours. Do you want to talk a little bit about that one? And
yes, I would love to hear about your process and all of that.
Yeah, Land Down Under came from, you're talking about being a big reader, and of course I was a big reader, and I was always reading my books and always avoiding social interactions by reading. And in the 4th grade, we started reading dystopian books like The Giver and other YA books like that. And I had a book project with a teacher that I really loved, where we were asked to create our own little world that was similar to like a dystopia situation. And that's where the world from Land Down Under was born. As somebody who really loves control and perfection, I was very drawn to a world that was that had no flaws. And so that's kind of the world that I built, made out of little paper people who are all on a little track, and they go through the same routine every day. And everything looks exactly the same. All the men look the same. All the women look the same. But of course, as I learned very quickly, all utopias are a dystopia in some way for some people. And so we created the Mysterious Floor based on that world that I created. We created an opportunity for some of the foster children to live in that world for a short period of time and explore it, and explore the strengths and weaknesses of a society like that. And we were able to keep a lot of the funny little world building that I included, like Basilisk King and Queen with a face shaped like a heart, which was not a reference to Alice in Wonderland, but was in fact a reference to The Perfect Face, which I was reading everywhere in these YA novels, which is the face, which is a heart-shaped face, which I had never heard of and still don't quite understand. But anyway, somehow that
That's funny.
idiosyncrasy made its way into my world building and into the story.
Yeah.
That our queen has a face the shape of a heart. And all of the art for that is inspired by my original illustrations.
Oh, wow.
From when I was in 4th grade.
Wow, that's so cool. That's amazing. Who did the artwork overall for all of these things? Like, did you hire someone to do that,
Yeah,
or do you also do that?
There's an Irish illustrator named Brian Gallagher who I was so attracted. He does these things called scraper board, but it looks like old-fashioned woodcuts. And so I love that. Like a lot of just books and reading, a lot of the story it focuses on this narrator that's the book of the lost. That's this book that you find when you've either lost something or you are lost. And it's a book that's falling apart. It can't hold itself together anymore. It's remembering scenes pages out of order, that kind of a thing. And so but even though it's all digital, there's something about the materiality of reading that's so important to me. And so the back cover of our electronic versions is this primer that my great aunt had that she grew up with when she was first learning to read. And again, like something about having those old fashioned styled illustrations was so important. And then usually too, we get a poem that's donated from a poet in each one of our stories. So Jenna has written one of these. My niece has written one. Annie Taylor, Reika Aoki, and I don't know. It's a nice way for us to fold in other families. In fact, our latest story that we're working on that should be released sometime this summer, called Go to Your Room, has a map of the hormonal world of Disneyland, this confusement park, that was drawn by the daughter who's part of another Forever family that we were friends with.
That's really cool.
The Balderrama family is Myra Balderrama, and that's another family that claims that our experience inspired them. Again, this is how this process works, perhaps. But of course, they in addition to their biological daughter, they adopted 3 siblings at once into their family. So
wow, that's awesome.
You never claim, like, I'm in awe of every family at this point. But anyway, the stories have proven a nice way for us to make those other kinds of connections. Yeah. So and I was going to mention in the story you have unboxing, Margaret Ree is the poet who shows up in there.
So is it just the poem is embedded somewhere within the story kind of a situation?
In the electronic one, you get poetry power-up poetry power-ups, yes, if you find the poem. And those will earn you a jetpack, which gives you the ability to go back and make a choice again that you previously made. Because even though the electronic ones are choice-based, they are unidirectional. So you gotta, you make your choices, you end up where you go. Whereas the books, I know we can always stick our finger in a page in the books.
Right. Yes, it's very true. Did you think about, have you ever considered making the digital ones into graphic novels?
Oh, that would be amazing. Now I have.
You're welcome.
Wow, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like the perfect, it seems so these should be graphic novels.
Yeah,
and graphic novels are so popular now.
Yeah, we might have to find a larger budget for that. And an illustrator one to do that. But yeah, there's because there's this whole wonderful, two people we've come across. One is the author Ryan North. And Ryan North, he's a comic book writer who he writes Squirrel Girl primarily, but he's written like
Oh
the
yeah.
Avengers.
Okay.
Like he writes mainstream
Uh-huh.
graphic novels. He also writes dinosaur comics, if you remember that from the internet, early days of the internet, where it's the same dinosaurs and they tell jokes.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah. 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 Yeah.
but he's written To Be or Not to Be and Romeo
Mm-hmm.
and or Juliet. And these are choice-based stories that
Oh.
are based on the Shakespeare ones that are really hilarious and really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he also recently wrote a graphic novel version of Lower Decks, the Star Trek animated series that a traditional choose your own. Anyway, so between that and there's a Gravity Falls choose your own adventure that's out there in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all this to say is I think it's a fantastic idea. And well, to be honest, I in the dream world, there's an animated TV series that
Mm-hmm.
somehow embodies
Absolutely.
takes the stories. And of course,
I love it.
and then there's then people build the Tangerine House. They build it in Silver Lake where it is, which does not currently does
Mm-hmm.
not the address currently does not have a house on it, although it's at the top. It's at the top of Earl Street, which I don't know if you've spent much
Mm-hmm.
time in Silver Lake, but it's one of those
Yeah, a
streets.
fair amount. Yeah.
Earl Street is one of those.
Windy, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
this one my car cannot actually drive up because the angle is
Right.
too steep. So
Yep. 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 Been there. Yep.
anyway,
I remember being sometimes like in the car and like the GPS would tell me to go a certain way. And all of a sudden I'd be on like a cliff. Like, this is so insane. I have my like kid in the car with me and I'm like, oh my God, I'm terrified right now. There's like nothing in LA. There's just some roads that are like, you could just fall, you could tumble to your death easily on this road.
I understand completely. So, which is to say that yes, we've got many ambitions and dreams for the
Right.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Wobbles world, and I think I don't know. There's a part of me based on our experience with the print one that wants to try to make a couple more print ones, just because those are
Sure.
just tangible and easy for people, and it's nice to take kids away from screens, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But there's also the fact that we've started to see if we could set all of the stories on the same day, so that someday there might be like a mega online one where you can just jump from story to story.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that too.
Jenna and I need to work out the logistics, and we need to talk to Davion about it too, to see like how to, if they actually could possibly fit. But there's already some intersections and some openings where that's happening, and of course in a magical house anything's possible. So
how do you guys find time to do it? Do you work separately and then just tell each other the ideas, or do you have weekly meetings, or like how does it go down? Like how do you actually do this?
Jenna, you want to describe the process?
Well, I have the misfortune of living with my father.
Misfortune. Listen, do you remember the theme of this whole podcast?
Yes, I have the fortune of living with my father.
Fortune / misfortune. Yep,
meetings often happen in the kitchen when I'm least expecting them, when I'm grabbing a glass of water and I'm bombarded with questions about where the story should go next, which I am open to and responsive to. So I serve as a 24/7 consultant these days.
Wow. Well, that's
in
convenient.
That way. And my dad seems to need no sleep and have no work ever somehow, and is just always working on them. I don't know.
The life of a college professor.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, another way to say it is, so as a dad, like the last thing I ever, like the thing that would absolutely break my heart, just so Genevieve hears this, is if ever I was like, hey kids, let's sit down and work on the Mrs. Wobble stories, and for them to be like, you know what, Dad, we're tired of it. Like, nah, we're tired of it. Like we were kids, so that's like my biggest, terror. And so instead of making, hopefully, I mean, there have been times where literally I've put the kids to work of like, okay, I need feedback on the story, read it, tell me what you think. And or they'll help out with the coding of it for the electronic ones or whatever. But much more of it is I'm driving them to school. Hey, I'm thinking there should be some wacky, let's see, in Spy Eye has secret agent things that you get out of the cereal boxes. And so driving to school, hey guys, what could be in these cereal boxes? Throw ideas out, right?
Right.
Okay,
Got
great.
it. Got it. Yep.
And then similarly too, try to set up occasions like this that motivate us, or we'll maybe go to our local library and do a reading.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like,
Sure.
okay, hey
Yeah.
guys, I set this up. Do either of you want to participate? Great. Do you want to read a character? Do you want to read a section or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't know, the kids have been game for it. So I guess part of it is trying not to make it work, for
Yep.
anybody.
Keeping it fun. Yeah.
And then also just making it like a open invitation, or an open, some questions that they can chime in on or not. Because something tells me, I don't know, I definitely would probably work on these things regardless at this point, but it's their response decides what gets the energy at any given moment. You know what I mean? Like if they seem like they're enjoying it, or they think something's a wacky idea, or it seems like it would be fun, or seems like it would be meaningful, then that's where the energy flows. And if the things that they're less interested in, my enthusiasm starts to slack on those as well. But
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Wow.
I think the kids are used to, I think they're used to the idea that we're going to collaborate if I'm around on something, whether that's just, hey, let's just make up a fun story while we're on a hike, or let's, well, to be honest, one of my favorite things is, because they're my co-authors, we have very specific kinds of conversations after we see movies or after we watch TV shows. You know what I mean? Like, I think they know that they're storytellers now. And so it means that we, when someone else does the thing, we evaluate it as though we did that, like, well, how would we have, like, I don't know, what do you think? Did that hit you? And I would say, but both of the kids have turned into really great curators, I guess, of content. Again, you mentioned graphic novels. So my son, what did he find? Bone, and several other ones. Again, I mentioned the show Gravity. Lumberjanes. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if you've seen that series yet by Boom. Amazing. Unbelievable.
Write it down.
Yeah. Series of comic books and graphic novels. Amulet, another great series. And then also, like I said, I think one of the kids found the Disney show Gravity Falls.
God, we love Gravity Falls. My daughter found it and just went gaga over it, and then we all got super into it. It's very funny. Well,
and that's that sweet spot that we love, which is like, and again, all the Pixar movies have it too, right? But it's like that emotional depth, imagination, creativity, a little bit of playfulness, heart. I don't know, like all mixed together. And that's the thing. That's the space that we really love. And so, and to be honest, it has led. All right, one more plug. It's led to Genevieve at USC. We ended up in the same research group, and we collaborated on making a card game about masculinity as part of that project, where Genevieve was really driving that ship and making sure that it came out in a way that she was happy with. And anyway, so the collaboration has gotten to continue in all sorts of ways. So anyway, it's one of my big delights.
Genevieve, he mentioned you just graduated. Did you graduate just this spring? Congratulations.
I did, yeah. Thank you.
Very exciting. How do you think that your family's situation, or how you grew up, informed your choice to go into psychology? Do you think it informed it, and how?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely did. Again, with the constant conversations about art and art curation, I spend a lot of time thinking about how art informs our mental health and our well-being.
Mm.
And that has been a big part of my life, as well
Mm-hmm.
as just being in a house where I feel like I'm taken seriously, and sometimes too seriously. Being an armchair psychologist at the very precocious age of 10.
Uh-huh.
And I think being in a space where I'm treated as a collaborator um, has informed that in a lot of ways, and constantly being in this space of talking about mental health and well-being um, in different ways, and different ways that we can access that, again very connected to art,
Mm-hmm.
has led me to be very interested in psychology, and also the other thing that has informed it is my very, very deep sense of empathy. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think in exploring my relationship with my brother, and
Mm-hmm.
the empathy that I share for him and wanting to support him, has led me to want to help people in different ways, and um, seeing the different ways that foster care can impact foster children and everyone else who's touched by their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I've been drawn to studying psychology.
Nice.
And I feel like I also see the influence of all these things in another part of your life where, if it's okay to share, that Genevieve is also she's also a birthday party princess, and
Oh, nice.
one of her great delights is to engage in imaginative play with children, and it
That is so fun.
feels like that combines two your interests, huh, Pick? It seems like it combines your creativity and your empathy.
Yes, yeah, finding a way where play can be a source of well-being and exploration is like one of my great passions.
Hmm. And do you think you'll work with children, or is that what are you hoping to like take your psychology and use it with kids, or what, or you're not sure yet?
I am unsure. I am looking
Mm-hmm.
at the wide range of ages 0 to 18, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have at various points, depending on my personal well-being, been drawn to different ages. But um, I'm open to everything, and it'll definitely have to do with opportunities that present themselves, and in the
Sure.
future.
Which princess are you? Are you Ariel?
I'm the white princesses. Um,
Okay.
or I would have to
So you're
say
not
I'm
Tiana,
friends, not Tiana. So one of my
Moana.
favorites is
not
Belle,
Jasmine.
not Jasmine.
Okay, got
One of
it.
my favorites is Belle. That's one that I
Uh-huh.
own
Belle loves to
my
read.
own. Yes,
Yeah.
Belle loves to read. That's one of my favorite parts of her. And um,
Yeah.
she also loves imagination and storytelling. And but also some of the more modern princesses are really awesome. I love Elsa. She's great, especially
Love Elsa too. Yep.
in the second movie. And yeah, I mean, but of course I love Ariel as well. I do have Be Our Guest on my wall back here,
I do see that.
um,
Yes, I see that. Yeah.
which is Belle, but
Oh, that's
she might
really
have to be my
cool.
favorite.
Nice. Couple more questions for you guys. I know we're coming up on an hour here. I wanted to know also, do you guys, what is Davion? Davion? That's his name, right? What does Davion do now? Has he gone to college, or what is he studying? What is he like? Where's he work? Anything. I'm just curious where his interests went.
So Davion, let's see, last January, a year ago January, he enlisted in the army.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. You said that. Yep.
and so since last May, he's been stationed in Alaska, and he's
Okay.
got a leave coming up, and so we're looking forward to seeing him then. And then in July we're going to go up to see him as a family. So
Nice.
yeah,
Have you
so
ever been up there before?
I've
Me
never been
either.
up there. Yeah, no, my wife's been up there on a cruise, but no, I've never been up there. So I'm eager to see what that's like for him, and we miss him terribly. So
Yeah,
But
I'm
we get
sure.
to, in the short times we have gotten to see him, we have been very happy to see that all of his lightheartedness and goofiness, and also his empathy and deep care for other people around him, has maintained. You know, we talked to some of his uh, fellow fellow army men, and they all just love to talk about how supportive he is and how selfless he is,
Mm,
and how they couldn't have made it through without him. And so we are definitely at peace knowing that he's supporting the people that he cares about, and also maintaining his great sense of humor, which is one of our favorite things about him.
well, that's
yeah.
true. That's true. When we went to see him at his graduation from basic training, they warned us, your service person may not be as affectionate as they were. They're going to be, they might withdraw from you,
Wow.
like, it's part of what we, beat out of them in boot camp, that kind of a thing, right? And so
Oh.
we're there with his grandfather at the graduation, and we step outside and we're looking around. And I see him, and there he's standing there looking all fit and all, he's rather tall, and
Yeah.
I walk up to him, and he's like, oh, 1 second, and I'm like, okay, where do you go? And he runs off so that he could go pretty much just give hugs to all of his fellow classmates, and in the most warm
Hmm.
way, and then to go find
Hmm.
the drill sergeants and to kind of give them the business, like in as much as you're allowed
Right.
to, even as a recent graduate. So, but,
Right.
but at that point, I think Genevieve and I just breathed a sigh of relief of like, oh, he's still the same person. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine that would be really, like concerning. That would concern me. I mean,
Yeah.
just the whole idea of the military would be like, oh God,
Well, sure. Yeah.
for me personally. Yeah.
And I'll send it to you. But when he enlisted, I did write a little rhyming children's book called E is for Enlisting. That's written from the point of view of our dog Ace. That's about to try, because it's like with everything, to try to deal with those the many feelings you feel when your child comes to you and says, I'm going to enlist, which is
Hmm.
which it fills you with all sorts of emotions and thoughts, and uh,
Sure. Yeah.
you know
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's just so cool the way you've found a way to be creative together as a family and to, we know as creative people that when you work in that capacity with people, it's so incredibly bonding, and those bonds last forever. I can see people I've done like theater with, and I haven't seen them in so long, and it's just right there because it's like, it's just so. I think it's a beautiful thing for a family to do. And I wonder, did you initiate? It sounds like you didn't initiate this intentionally as like we're going to do something together as a family. It just kind of happened. Would you say that's accurate, or did you sort of intend and cultivate this?
oh, I wish I could have the kind of wisdom to intend any such thing and cultivate something. No, it's just like it's just the insatiable appetite for um storytelling and play, and I guess some there was some deeper sense for me that this is just such a rich way to connect with the people that I love, to be able to make something together, to be able to
Hmm.
enter an imaginative world together. And then I knew right away that it would give that we could take these, even with some fun playfulness, that we could take it to a
Hmm.
level of depth, emotional depth, that
Yeah.
again, like I said, like I see every story as a meditation on our family's experience, and particularly Davion's experience, and like I said, in a way that I hope, especially for him, is clothed and cloaked and veiled in ways that make it a safe space for him to process things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
Have you discussed that with him now that he's an adult? Has that ever come up?
no, but he has had like I said, every once in a while there's an occasion like this. If he's around for it, he's sort of had to answer those sorts of questions. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah. I think, and he has said in those contexts that um, that they're more importantly like he sees as a way to share his story
Mm-hmm.
again without him having to without it have to be like an exploitative way, but also without it to put him in a position of like utter vulnerability where it's like, oh, here's my life story, right? I mean,
Sure.
no one gets access to that unless he decides who gets access to it.
Right.
So but
Yep.
when we go into his children's center and the kids get to ask questions about foster care and adoption,
Mm-hmm.
that's a real moment, and he's the one who's answering them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just
Absolutely.
creates like a a safer space, and one that we can all inhabit, and one that we share ownership of. Like again, if like I remember this moment. I was reading him. He was going to bed, and I was reading him part of Spy Eye, or Spy Adventure. And there's this moment where the villain got tossed into a giant frying pan, and he shot up in bed and said, "No, that can't happen." I said, "So why not?" He's like, "That's something the Joker would do to somebody. Like that is way too terrible. Like you cannot." And
Oh,
so okay, so
wow.
we dialed it back. So again,
Right.
I think there's something about the fact that we can touch upon the deepest parts, getting towards some of the traumas that come from
Mm-hmm.
that are shared in totally unique ways by everyone who's been affected by foster. Like, foster care happens because of societal tragedies, right?
Absolutely.
Like major
Yep.
flaw, like and lots of hurt and
Yep.
lots of hardship, and you know what I mean. Again, it's like so we always wanted these stories to be so different from, oh, it's great to tell a story about an orphan, like that kind of a thing,
Right.
as
Yes.
opposed to giving a space where we could think about feelings that all children go through,
Mm-hmm.
and then the feelings that certain children, experiences certain children have to go through that are harder than other experiences, and that do come with their own kind of
Yes.
pains, um, and where finding their way towards hope and possibility and adventure and whatever is a bit different, and then
Right.
again, I think the thing we hit upon early on was this figure of Mrs. Wobbles, this kind of like
Mm-hmm.
loving, wise, kind of, she's not unlike a Mary Poppins figure to some extent, or some of the other Miss Piggle Wiggle. Like she kind of knows what's best for the person,
Uh-huh.
better than they do, but she's not going to say it out loud. She's going to let the
Right.
magic world do its work. And
Yep.
I think imagining ourselves into that kind of a world has been really healing for and helpful for the family. A place of growth, and like I said, a place that's as boundless as imagination and reading is. So
Mm, that's really beautiful. I can't wait to see the TV show when it comes out.
you and me both. In the graphic novel.
Yes. Yes, and the graphic novel for sure. And if you guys ever want to do an audiobook, come on down to New York and do an audiobook with me.
Oh,
I
that'd be
mean, I have
great.
a studio in my house and everything. That'd be
Wow.
awesome.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
And that because I don't know if you know, I'm an audiobook narrator. That's like what I do outside of the podcast. So I voiceover and audiobooks and all that. So yeah, if you ever want to talk about it.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. For sure.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate your time so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
so
Genevieve.
much.
I'm so glad you were able to come, and maybe you guys come on another time, and Davion and
That'd be great.
your wife come on, because I'd like to hear her side too. I'd like to hear how she,
I'd like to hear it too. She tends to be kind of
the whole
behind the
thing.
scenes, but yeah, for sure.
Right. Well, no pressure, but if she's ever interested, yeah,
Yeah, for
it's
sure. Well,
cool. All right.
thank you
Oh
so much
wait,
for having us.
give the listeners again the website where they can find all this awesomeness.
Okay, all right. So if you just go to markcmarino.com/MRSW, that will take you to all things Mrs. Wobbles.
There you go.
And various platforms. If you look for Mark C. Marino, you'll find your way towards us and our many wacky projects. And if you look up Coronation webcomic, you'll also find your way to our COVID era antics.
Well, I'm going to link to both of those in the show notes. And again, thanks, guys. Great to talk to you today.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Rachel. We
you.
appreciate it. It's really been a pleasure.